Good afternoon and welcome to the Professional Practice Lounge of the BIM Coordinators Summit 22. We have an interesting program ahead of us. I'd like just to start by introducing myself. My name is Alan Hore of TU Dublin, and I'm also one of the founders of the Construction IT Alliance of Ireland. I also want to take this opportunity to congratulate the BIM Coordination Summit team for putting together a fantastic event. My presentation is in two parts, because I'm wearing two hats. I'm going to talk about the Construction IT Alliance of Ireland, and then I'm going to talk about the Build Digital Project of Ireland, which we were recently successful becoming involved with as a consortium. So the Construction IT Alliance is a not-for-profit organisation that's bringing the construction industry together in Ireland since 1999. What's refreshing about this particular session is that we're getting input from all of the major stakeholders, in the industry. So, for example, we've got, the CIOB, the National Standard Authority of Ireland, Society of Chartered Surveyors of Ireland, and all of these institutes and organisations have particular initiatives. We're also delighted to welcome James from Copenhagen, who's going to give us an insight into what a leading jurisdiction is doing in this particular space. But I'm also going to give you an insight into my role in TU Dublin as the co-chair of the digital procurement framework in Build Digital. Now, I'm going to apologise to the audience here in that the quality may not be great on the slides because of the sun, but people who are online will see this perfectly. So, we've got, as I say, a very busy schedule ahead of us. Ross will be up in about 15 minutes, so I need to push on. But you can see we have 9 or so presenters. I'm going to be moderating the first half. So we'll be having a break after the first 4 speakers, and then I might invite 1 or 2 other speakers to join for a short panel discussion before the break. And my colleague Barry McCauley will be coordinating the second half of the practice lounge. So very simply put, the Construction IT Alliance is there to encourage the construction industry to take full advantage of emerging technologies. Now think about this. This was formed 23 years ago. So the vision was there then, and we're still here today. So what we have is 4 core values, and these core values have not changed since its inception. Value number 1, we appeal to a broad range of multidisciplinary members and offer them a service. If members don't join us, we know that we're not providing that service. The second value is that we consistently connect our members to innovative practice. Thirdly, we've been working very hard on developing the digital skills of our members, and I'll talk more about the CITA SkillNet network, the longest established training network in Ireland, funded by the state, 16 years of recurring successful funding. And last but not least, we have a track record of delivering a collaborative culture with mutual beneficial stakeholders, and I'll give you some examples of that. So the first value is demonstrable in that we have 250 subscribing members, ranging from very large contractors to SMEs on the west coast of Ireland to universities in the south to tech companies. And you can see there the range of appeal. And again, you may have some difficulty with the sun coming in here, but essentially what we provide those people is, number 1, an opportunity to share knowledge. 2, a networking opportunity like we have here today, and that's why CITA are delighted to be at an event like this, raising these companies' profiles and organizations through social media messaging. The big message for any potential member is that we can discount any training that you do if you're in the private sector by up to 30%. And of course, we have lots of events and discounted events. So on the 1st of January every year, we reset the spreadsheet to 0, and then we wait for people to come back and join us each year, and we've had that success. Just to give an example of value 2, connecting to innovation. For example, in our Tech Trend series on the 29th of September, we have an event called Quality Inspection Made Easy Through Digital. So people like I3PT will be speaking, some of the major contractors will be speaking. And we also have a successful digital housing series. We've got an event on next week looking at modern methods of construction and the skills needed. By the way, having quality construction is no longer going to be a nice thing to have. It's going to be a requirement. Take, for example, what the UK are doing with the safety bill coming out in the UK. So lots of examples of innovative events. Some of you will know about the BIM Gathering. We had a circular economy series last year. And of course, the new kid on the block is the Build Digital project, of which we are committed as the PMO to deliver that project over the next 5 years, and which we will do. This is a real success story. The third value of CITA is the ability of CITA to encourage people to upskill. Now, since 2016, we have been successful in securing this funding. And by way of an example, we've trained, I think, 4,725 training days last year. We've over 200 companies in that network. And whether any of you are doing postgraduate study or your children are doing undergraduate degrees, did you know that we can part fund that through CITA SkillNet? So whether it's self-learning platforms, in-company training, third-level courses, we can do that so long as we can work within our budget. And so that CITA SkillNet is a real success story, and in very much it's keeping the lights on for the Alliance over the last 15, 16 years. Now, this is a very important, this is the last value of CITA, and this is where we demonstrably have shown internationally that we can deliver. So, for example, we were successful in 2015 with the BIM Innovation Capability Programme of Ireland. Now, as a result of that, we worked with Enterprise Ireland and stakeholders, and we delivered the National BIM Council's roadmap for digital transition. That subsequently was embedded into the Build Digital project, which is now national policy. So what you can see is that we have delivered and consistently deliver with our stakeholders on projects such as I said. So what I'm going to do now is just give you a little insight into the Build Digital project. I suppose to summarize it, it's industry in the crosshairs, collaborating with government, collaborating with academia, looking at 5 pillars across 5 universities and 1 established industry network, i.e. CITA. So we've got the Atlantic Technological University, we've got the Munster Technological University, we've got UCD, we've got the Technological University of the South East, and CITA, together delivering on these 5 things. Now, my particular role, or the focus of this project, is helping SMEs in particular to transform, become more agile, become more greener, leaner, and more digitally enabled. And of course, this is all part of Project 2040. So if you can make out the diagram to the right, and apologies to the audience that are here today, it's difficult to see it. In scoping this particular pillar, you'll resonate with this. There was 3 main challenges we could see in 2022. Resource scarcity, decarbonisation, and procurement reform. So therefore, that leads to my key focus of what I'm talking about now for the next 10 minutes, and that is the need to develop an information management framework for Ireland. And of course, with information management comes the enabling technology of building information modelling. So, if we look at the UK, for example, some of you may be aware there is a BIM framework in the UK. Yep. And Dr. Anne Kemp, you might have heard of her. She's a prolific person who has been driving this agenda within the UK BIM Alliance now for a number of years. And in many respects, she was the catalyst with her team of developing the publicly available specifications for BIM into ISO standards. Yeah? So what she said was, the idea of an information management framework is to support the implementation of ISO standards. Now, Pat will be talking more about that later on. So if we have ISO standards for information management, the whole idea of the framework is to support that, yeah? So, in the middle of my diagram, you can see reference to an international framework. That is already there with the standards. What we need in Ireland, and what we're looking at in Ireland, is developing, on the left-hand side, a national framework, encouraging the trades to use the technology, encouraging the companies to use the technology, and also the software companies to understand the Irish framework and not necessarily how things are done in other jurisdictions. So we've got to bring government, industry, and academia together on this journey over the next 2 years and develop a framework for Ireland. So unfortunately, the Irish BIM programme has stalled. It has stalled. And again, if you look at the diagram there, you'll see that in the Nordics in particular, they are driving forward open BIM regulation, i.e. Denmark, i.e. Austria, i.e. Norway. Many other countries in this part of the world have active, have BIM mandates. But a BIM mandate could be restricted by what? By the value of the project. It could be restricted by the agency that, whether it's a rail agency or a road agency. So there's very few countries that have public mandates other than what we found in the Nordic countries. Look, Ireland has an active BIM programme and there is a plan for a future mandate. I think that's fair to say. But unfortunately, it has stalled, and more about that stalling and how we can restart that at the very end of my presentation. So we looked very closely at the United Kingdom, obviously a very important trading partner to Ireland. And, they have a BIM mandate. Yes, it might be only 2 sentences, but they have a mandate since 2016. And Scotland have one since 2017. And there's lots of publications out there, and you might see that the reference to the guidance A to F, this is very important for the Irish construction industry to look at, because if the United Kingdom went to the trouble of driving the ISO initiative, writing the guidance to support ISO 2, 4, and 5, or 3 and 5, then we need to follow that. There's no point in reinventing the wheel. British Standard Institute, Scottish Future Trust, I understand the Build Digital project are signing an NDA today with the SFT, as we speak even. So we're learning a lot about the UK, and we're going to be writing and recommending from that. Also in Scandinavia, we have probably the most advanced countries in the world when it comes to digital BIM adoption. Norway, Finland, and Denmark have these mandates for maybe 15, 16 years. So we can learn from people like Senate Properties, the Danish Building and Property Agency. I'm not going to pronounce the Finnish names here, but you know, again, look at again another series of champions. And once more, just like the UK, we have a Building Smart chapter in each of those countries. Australia is particularly interesting because, and this is something we could learn with the UK, Australasia is where Australia and New Zealand work together and do joint initiatives and joint guidelines and joint best practice. And of course, they have a singular Building Smart Australasia chapter. Now, we have a Building Smart UKI chapter, but Ireland are not active in that. And that's an issue that we need to fix. So again, we can learn a lot from that. And just to come close to the close of my presentation, have any of you heard of Bilal Sukkar? He's based in Australia. He is the person who developed the BIM start. We need to start talking to all these other people who have already done this. We need consistent education in our universities and colleges. We don't have that, and I'm speaking as an educationist now. I know that our quantity surveyors need more skills in this area, and we don't have an active smart chapter, unfortunately. So to summarize, the research we're doing in Build Digital, in digital procurement within the information management part of that diagram, concludes that Norway and Denmark are considered to be the leaders. So what are we going to do? We're going to try and follow them. We're going to try and find out more about them. We're also going to try and activate the Building Smart chapter in this region, because in every other region we've looked at where we had these mandates and these regulations, they had an act. I met a lady, Anna, from the Italian Building Smart chapter just earlier on. There's lots and lots of documents out there, lots of significant publications that will inform Ireland's programme, particularly if they're printed in English. And my call to wrap up my presentation is to say that we must, I said this to John Hunt in Enterprise Ireland earlier, we must reinstate the National BIM Council in Ireland, because they produce the roadmap and then you're finished. No, it needs to continue. And all the stakeholders need to be at that table. And can I just say how